Welcome to the 13th episode of Let's Talk Sports by the Lake. I'm your host, Julian Howell, and this is my co-host, Jacob Barco. How are you doing today, Jake?
Doing well, Julian. Great to be here.
Yeah, so first we're going to discuss the NBA offseason. So, Jake, where did LeBron James go this summer?
Well, unfortunately, LeBron James signed a 4-year contract worth $154 million with the Los Angeles Lakers. Being a Cavs fan, I was very hopeful that he was going to re-sign in Cleveland and that we were going to have him for the future. But LeBron decided to take his talents elsewhere for the second time in his career. And he signed, again, a 4-year contract worth $154 million with the Los Angeles Lakers. Why do you think he left Cleveland, Julian?
Well, so I think, the supporting cast in Cleveland really deteriorated when Kyrie Irving left. And he didn't really have a lot of help in Cleveland this last year. It was just really tough to watch at points. And I think he also just wanted to go to LA because he does a lot of stuff, like as an entrepreneur. He has his own production company, so I really think he wants to just grow, as LeBron the businessman as well.
Right, I completely agree with you. I think he saw that opportunity to just grow his business, grow his himself or his brand, so to speak. But also the Lakers do have some up and coming talent. They have a great core. Drafted Lonzo Ball last year, point guard. They have Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma as forwards. So I think that I really think they have a young supporting cast there for him to really build up. I don't see them competing with the Golden State Warriors or even the Oklahoma City or the Houston Rockets, but I think that LeBron will take them to another level this year, just himself. Obviously he did that with the Cavs this past year, so it'll be interesting to see if they make the playoffs. I believe they will, but I don't think they're ready to compete with some of the higher powers in the West.
Yeah, I agree. I think another player to mention is Josh Hart, the shooting guard out of Villanova. He's played very well in the summer league, so he's another player to look out for.
Absolutely.
This year.
Absolutely. And they also signed a couple veterans. They got Rajon Rondo and JaVale McGee. So they're really putting together a team there. It's kind of a team of some young core players, LeBron James, and some old guys, but they're definitely putting together a team.
Yeah.
The next free agency thing we can talk about is DeMarcus Cousins signed for a 1-year deal with the Golden State Warriors for $5.3 million. And I know I was very angry when I saw this deal. How did you feel about it, and why do you think Boogie Cousins signed with them?
Well, I remember, I texted you after it happened. We were just both really surprised, and it was really hard to process, because, one, DeMarcus Cousins is a really good player, and he seems like he should be paid more than that because he's just the best, maybe the best center in the NBA. And so I was really perplexed by that a little bit, and I guess people were just taken off guard by his injury. Maybe that's why he ended up with the Warriors.
Yeah. I was very surprised as well. A lot of people think because of his Achilles injury that he is not going to be coming back till January, February. So it will be a shortened season for him, already. But still, I could not believe that he went to the Golden State Warriors and added to their repertoire of talent that they have. So I really think that they have really cemented their position into winning that championship. But anything can happen. Injuries can happen. There can be a lot of things through that 81-game season. The next one we have is Paul George. He signed a 4-year, $137 million deal to return to OKC. Do you think that was a surprising move to you? Because there was a lot of talks of him going elsewhere.
Well, I was really just surprised because I thought, eventually maybe Paul George would play for the Los Angeles Lakers because he went to Fresno State for college, so he grew up as a Lakers fan. So I was just kind of confused about that, but I think he wants to try to build something with Russell Westbrook.
I agree. I was very confused because I think Paul George really kind of said that he wanted to go to Los Angeles. Yeah. That was his destination in 2018 and 19. But he decided to stay with the OKC and kind of grow with Russell Westbrook on that team. Another part of the OKC team, Carmelo Anthony parted ways with the Thunder, and then he was actually bought out, I believe, just recently out of his contract. So he's a free agent now, free to sign with any team with no obligations. Where do you think he's going to go?
Well, I think it's likely that he'll sign a veteran minimum contract with the Houston Rockets, and that's worth about $2.4 million. So I guess he's just trying to win a championship at this point in his career, and we'll see how it goes. He'll be with Chris Paul and James Harden and Clint Capella, so a pretty good supporting cast.
Absolutely. I think it's a smart decision on Carmelo's part. I think that, obviously when he was traded to the Hawks from the Thunder, and then the Hawks just waived him to clear out contract space. But yeah, he's going to sign with the Rockets, and that's going to give them some more firepower to deal with the Warriors. So that'll be interesting.
I agree. And what do you think about Dennis Schroeder being traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder? Because he was the point guard for the Hawks the last few seasons. And
yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. I think that moves. I mean, really, I think Westbrook might move to the shooting guard because he's a scorer. I mean, he can score from any place on that floor. Maybe that'll take a little bit less pressure off of him to do everything.
I agree.
I think his statistics are going to decline because of that, but I don't think he's worried about that. I think he just wants to win a championship.
I agree. I think it's just really interesting because the Hawks, they acquired Trae Young in the draft, so I think maybe they wanted Trae to be the main guy at point guard.
Right.
So I think that was another reason as well to trade away Dennis Schroeder. So we'll see how Dennis and Russell Westbrook fit in that backcourt this coming season.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting for sure. I believe the last trade that we're going to talk about is a big one. I'll let you handle that one.
Okay, so the San Antonio Spurs have traded Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green to the Toronto Raptors for guard DeMar DeRozan and center Jacob Petel. I'm sorry. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And a protected 2019 first-round pick. And so what do you think about this?
I was very surprised. I didn't think that they were going to actually pull the trigger and trade him prior to this season. A lot of talks were before LeBron signed with the Lakers. The Cavs were interested in trading for Kawhi Leonard, and then when LeBron went to the Lakers, I thought the Lakers were going to trade for Kawhi Leonard. They didn't get a deal done, but again, I believe this is just for next season. So Kawhi Leonard will be playing for the Raptors just for 1 year. Do you know how long DeMar DeRozan's deal is still left on the table?
Well, I think DeMar DeRozan signed a deal. Let me think. Maybe a year or two ago. So there's maybe 3 or 4 years left on that deal, and he really wanted to stay with the Raptors. So he was really hurt by the trade that happened, and it really he questioned the Raptors' loyalty. And I can see where he's coming from.
Absolutely. I mean, and nowadays in sports, it's a really a cutthroat league, no matter what league it is, the NBA, the NFL, or the MLB. But DeMar DeRozan has said on social media, on his Twitter account, that he was really taken back by being traded. He didn't anticipate it at all. They didn't give him any heads up or talk to him about it. But he'll be going to the San Antonio Spurs with one of arguably the best coach ever, in Greg Popovich.
I agree.
So it'll be interesting to see how the Spurs team turns it around if they do. But they also received a protected 2019 first-round draft pick.
Yeah, and I believe that a protected 2019 first-round draft pick is a top 20 protected.
Okay.
So that's really important to point out.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how both of those players fit into their new schemes. The last bit of NBA news we'll talk about is future Hall of Famer Dirk Nowitzki. He signed a 1-year, $5 million deal to return to the Dallas Mavericks for his, I believe, record-setting 21st season.
Yes, and I remember we actually spoke about Dirk Nowitzki on the very first episode of Let's Talk Sports by the Lake when he scored his 30,000th point. And so he's just really a great player. It's awesome to see athletes, from any league or any sport, stay with the same team the whole time, because you see a lot of players who are mercenaries going to different teams, or players just being traded, like DeMar DeRozan or some of the baseball players we'll talk about later who got traded.
Absolutely, and it's great to see that commitment to a franchise, commitment to a city, and I think that Dirk really means a lot to not only the Mavericks and in Dallas, but also internationally. I think that it shows that an international player can come over here and have that longevity in professional sports. So that's really cool to see as well. So that does it for the NBA segment of Let's Talk Sports by the Lake. We'll be back shortly with Major League Baseball.
Welcome back to the 13th episode of Let's Talk Sports by the Lake. We are back to discuss the MLB. So we'll discuss the standings for the AL. Okay, so in the AL East, the Boston Red Sox have a record of 75-34. In the AL Central, the Cleveland Indians have a record of 58-48. In the AL West, the Houston Astros have a record of 68-41. So what are your thoughts about the division leaders?
It's stayed pretty consistent throughout the year. I think that, obviously the AL East and the Red Sox and the Yankees, those fluctuated a little bit. But honestly, these three teams have been the front runners throughout the American League throughout this entire season. And I really foresee it staying like that. I think that it will. I think the Indians are definitely going to win the AL Central. I think the Astros are definitely going to win the AL West. The AL East, again, that's just a tough division because you have the two, top dogs in the Red Sox and the Yankees. But the Red Sox have a great record right now. You can see they're over 40 games, over 500. So I really see these three teams sticking it out throughout the rest of this regular season and winning each of these divisions. The NL, we have the NL East leading Philadelphia Phillies with a 59-48 record. We have the NL Central leading Chicago Cubs with a 61-45 record. And then we also have the NL West leading Arizona Diamondbacks with a 60-49 record. What do you think about the NL? Who do you think is going to come out of that division or any of these divisions as the leaders?
Well, I think it's going to be really competitive because, I think the NL West, the Dodgers are still doing well. The Rockies are still in the race, so it's going to be interesting. And I think for the NL Central, the Chicago Cubs, they're obviously leading right now, but I feel like, the Milwaukee Brewers are not far behind. The Pittsburgh Pirates are third in the division right now, so they could sneak back up into the standings.
Absolutely, I agree. I think there's a couple sneaky. The NL West is the crapshoot here, so to speak.
Yes.
You have the Rockies, you have the Dodgers, and you have the Diamondbacks. All three great teams this year that I think are really putting forth a great season so far. At the trade deadline, we'll talk about a couple trades, and then I really think the trade deadline this year is gonna tell us who's going to go further into the playoffs. So, it's going to be interesting. And again, the NL Central, the Cubs are leading right now, but the Buccos could make a push to the playoffs. First trade that we'll talk about is the Baltimore Orioles traded Manny Machado, star shortstop, to the Los Angeles Dodgers for a few prospects: Yosniel Diaz, Dean Kremer. It's Rylan Bannon, a second baseman, and a pitcher. So a lot of these players are up-and-coming prospects that haven't made it to the major leagues yet. But the Dodgers had to give up something to get Manny Machado. This is a rental trade, so what that means is they only get Manny Machado for the rest of this regular season and playoffs. And then after the season is over, he is free to sign with whatever major league ball club that he wants to play for. So that's why they didn't give up a lot of major league talent, so to speak, but they did give up some prospects. Any thoughts on that Manny Machado trade?
Well, I think, my biggest takeaway is, what the Orioles received. They received two pitchers, and it was really needed for them to receive that because their pitching's been terrible the past two seasons. So I'm happy that they received some pitching.
Yeah, they got some pitchers. They got a couple prospects, for the minors to kind of re-supplement their farm system. But it was an even trade on both sides. Obviously, they gave up a lot of players from the Dodgers, but to get a star player like Manny Machado for this year's playoff run is certainly invaluable. A fun fact: Machado is going to wear number 8 for the Dodgers. He wore number 13 for the Orioles. And he was actually a huge Kobe Bryant fan growing up. I think that's part of the reason why, he's wearing number 8 for the Dodgers, being
yes.
an LA franchise. So I thought that was pretty cool to see a Kobe Bryant fan as well, and see him wearing number 8 for the Dodgers.
Yeah, and his dog's name is Kobe as well. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's another fun fact for sure. So it'll be interesting to see if that puts the Dodgers over the top, if they can win that division and further themselves in the playoffs, due to that big trade. Another trade that did not happen with the Nationals is Bryce Harper was not traded. Are you kind of surprised by that?
I am kind of surprised because I mean, Bryce Harper, he's going to be a free agent next year, isn't he?
I believe so, yes.
I mean, so I think they could have received some pieces for him, maybe some prospects. And they're 11th in the NL right now, so maybe they likely won't make the playoffs, or I don't foresee it. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it was surprising. There was right before the trade deadline yesterday, there was some talks of the Indians going after Bryce Harper, which I would have loved to see, but that didn't happen. I think it was a lot of smoke. But yeah, I was surprised the Nationals didn't move him, but it's hard to move a franchise player like that. He has been the face of that organization for a while now, so I think they just kind of stayed put, and hopefully they can re-sign him next year to a long-term deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting for sure. When they're out of the playoffs, why not kind of get some value out of that? Another trade that happened, the Cleveland Indians traded for relief pitchers Brad Hand and Adam Clymer from the San Diego Padres. The Indians definitely needed some bullpen depth. They have had a lot of injuries this year to their pitching staff, and they really haven't had a lot of stability in the bullpen this year. So I was happy to see that they addressed that situation at hand, literally at hand, and supplemented their bullpen and got some more relievers. They also traded for center fielder Leonis Martin from the Detroit Tigers, and kind of got us another outfielder to play center field. That outfield has been depleted this year as well by injuries. But both trades were done for a couple of prospects. They were our top prospects in the Indians farm system, but these deals are really win-now deals, so the Indians really think that they have the talent to make it to the World Series this year or deep into the playoffs. So what do you think about the Indians deals, and what does that say about the franchise?
Well, I think it's really interesting, Jake, because we did talk about how bad the relief pitching was, so it was really vital that they acquired that during the trade deadline, some relief pitchers, because I mean, the Indians have great starting pitching in Corey Kluber, Bieber.
Yeah, they got Clevender, Bauer. They have great starting pitchers, but the bullpen has been very shaky this year. So, yeah, I was happy to see that they made a move, and hopefully Indians fans like me are very happy with the moves they made. You want to talk about our last trade?
Oh, sure. So the Pittsburgh Pirates traded for starting pitcher Chris Archer, and they traded away two young prospects in outfielder Austin Meadows and starting pitcher Tyler Glasnow. And the Pirates are lobbying for a playoff race after winning 15 of their last 20 games. So they're really in that NL Central playoff race.
They certainly are. I think this move, and I am a secondary Pirates fan, but I think this move really said that they're going to be looking for the next couple of years. They traded a prospect in Austin Meadows who was having a great year at the beginning when he got called up and then kind of tailed off. The pitcher was a former starting pitcher, Tyler Glasnow, was moved to the bullpen and was really excelling there. But to get a pitcher of Chris Archer's caliber, I think they saw that opportunity and they pulled the trigger. They've won 15 out of their last 20 games, so they have a lot of momentum coming out of the All-Star break. So it'll be interesting to see if they can keep that momentum up with such a young team that they have, and not a lot of star players, but their outfield has some great potential in it. With Sterling Marte and also Corey Dickerson. So I think that they have a shot. They have an outside shot at making the playoffs. But hopefully Chris Archer will help them out in their starting pitching, and they can play some good defense. So it'll be interesting to see if the Pirates can make that playoff push and where they end up at the end of this year.
I agree.
Well, that does it for our 13th episode of Let's Talk Sports by the Lake. I'm Jacob Bartko, and I'm here with my co-host Julian Howell. And we appreciate you tuning in. So stay tuned for episode 14 coming shortly. Thank you. Welcome back to Let's Talk Sports by the Lake. Just when you thought we were done, we have some bonus local footage for you. We're going to talk about the Erie football team. Julian, we'll let you take that away.
Yeah, so the Erie Express lost to the Middle Tennessee Bulldogs 14-7. And the Erie Express defense, did a great job, but the offense was only able to score one touchdown, which was by former Cathedral Prep graduate Javon Rowan. And we'll show you some highlights of the game by one of our members.
Yeah, check out these highlights. The highlights are produced by our member volunteer, William West. William is a volunteer of Community Access Television. For information about volunteering, visit our website at catverie.org.
All aboard! Please welcome your 2000.